Today, we're going to be reading chapter 21. So buckle your seatbelt. It's quite the ride, and we'll see you on the other side. The trip to Flischingen lasted nearly 3 hours. Like Mississippi, farmland swathed a large portion of the country. Every few minutes, they passed towns so clustered and small, you would miss them if you blinked. Covered in red clay shingles stood many homes, the vast majority sticking together like American apartment buildings. "What is it like where you come from?" Charlotte asked him. William explained the horrors associated with natural disasters. "We get hurricanes and tornadoes. It's a lot warmer, too." He then told her about the rivers and the islands and the fake beach that line the Mississippi Sound, and how casinos had returned like ghosts from the past. And then in '87, we had the Sherry murders. Now that was big news. Some big shot lawyer who was running for mayor in Biloxi got murdered. They killed his wife, too. They say the Dixie Mafia was behind the whole thing, but who knows? Charlotte understood. She was sweet and totally empathetic to his story. "This city you go to, Tannhausen, it is not unlike what you say about this Dixie Mafia. Tannhausen has many crazy men. You must take very good care of what you say to the people." William said okay, he would. He'd be careful. But he thought, what kind of fucking place am I getting ready to go to? All these people keep saying things. William stood on the dock as the boat approached the landing area. When the ferry neared the wharf, the back end of the boat disassembled. A ramp from the vessel lowered itself onto the harbor. William turned to a handsome man and said, "Excuse me, sir, but do you speak English?" "Yes, of course," replied the stout character. "I've never been on one of these. Are they getting ready to load all those cars in the boat?" "Yeah, that is precisely what they are to do," the Dutchman replied. "The ferry can hold many cars." The craft soon filled with people and automobiles. William toted his bags to the outer deck in order to get a view of the land on the other side, a stretch of mass that resembled an alligator in a mist. As the boat docked, he searched the parking lot for the silver BMW. Saw a man about 100 yards away leaning on a dusty car, wearing what looked like the blue sweater described in his itinerary. William waited for another few minutes as the figure grew larger. Then he saw the smoke curling up and a hand over the man's head as if he was reaching for something. Yes, it was definitely Timon the Boer. The old Don waited until the young American got into earshot to say, "I see that you have reached your destination." His voice was aristocratic and exuded power. The two shook hands and exchanged pleasantries. "A working man, I see," the Dutchman remarked. William said, "I throw banana boxes all day. What can I say? I always have room for strong in my organization." Timon helped the young American with his bags. "I trust that you have had a good trip." William spoke briefly about his adventure. "Come, my friend. Hannah and my wife, Lillian, shall be waiting." There was a diplomatic tone to the Dutchman's voice. "I understand that your brother means a great deal to you." "I haven't seen him in a long time. I was a little boy when he died." William paused momentarily and added, "Well, disappeared." "From what I understand, the people know your brother as Hunt. He has a big reputation in Tannhausen." William's body began to burr. "It's always so cold and windy over here." "Yeah, the land is very low," said the Dutchman. The men loaded William's bags into the trunk of the automobile, and they were on their way. As Timon brought him deeper into the countryside, the terrain became rural. Unlike the hilly pine forests of Mississippi, the Dutch countryside was flat and thus ideal for farming. The roads winded, twisted, and grew narrow. William could see nothing but farms and fields of dirt clods as far as the eye could see. Timon shifted gears, taking the turns like Mario Andretti, He reached into the ashtray and pulled out the remnants of a joint that he'd been smoking along the way to the ferry. He fired it up, took a long pull, exhaled, and said, "Do you smoke?" "Every once in a while," William said. "It is some of the best Moroccan hashish known to man. I stopped off at this coffee shop in Amsterdam. I had a 3-hour layover, you know, and this guy hooked me up with some hash, and let me tell you, I never smoked anything like it. Anyway, I ended up going to the Dump Crane and the Bulldog. It was real cool." Timon took another hit off the stogie and blew out, "Nectar from the hemp gods." With the joint in his right hand, the old Don moved the gear shift, causing the smoke to curl off in rivulets. He accelerated into the terrain. William wondered if the hash impaired the Dutchman's ability to drive. Timon navigated the roads at frightening speeds, sprinting around curves and decelerating ever so slightly at dips. William sat back and tried to relax, but it felt like he was stuck on a roller coaster. "Just enjoy the ride," he said to himself. "The man knows what he's doing. Nothing's going to go wrong." "Do y'all always drive this way?" "Yeah, it's normal, William." "Okay," William thought, but offered no further comment. Timon passed the joint and said, "You must be careful. It is very strong." William took a miniature puff and breathed in the smoke. It was harsh. It made him fall into a fitful cough. "Damnation to hell. You didn't lie." "Take it slow, my friend. You will become accustomed to the smoke in a few days." A few minutes later, in a fog from hell, William began to explain the story of his life. It began in a slow pace, but as the men continued smoking and moving into the land, the conversation turned into a verbal crescendo of escalating proportions. Slurring his words, William garbled, "I always wanted to travel. My buddies and I used to talk about going down to the Bahamas and opening a charter business. Stuff like that, you know. My brother had the same idea, my mama told me. It was going to be nothing but tight-eyed sunsets and margaritas." William chuckled. Somehow that got all messed up. Everyone went their separate ways, and then, well, our father died. Timon the board listened intently. He was a man of facts. "Well, out of the blue, my mom and I found out my brother's alive after all these years." William explained about the murder of his neighbor, what had happened, why his brother had left the country. He saw that the Dutchman understood. "So we get this call from Hannah, and here I am." Timon could see that William was about as stoned as a person could be. "Your brother, he is a good person, no?" "Well, our mother raised us to be decent people." William's words were barely audible and trailing off, and then sourly he added, "When my brother got into high school, he started getting into all kinds of trouble. It was like my parents couldn't control him." Timon was a compassionate man, a reasonable man. He said, "We shall do our best to find your brother." "I really believe he's a good guy, my brother. He's my only brother, you know. Other than that, it's just me and my mom." And then, with a quiver in his voice, "And now she's all alone." "Have you entertained the idea that perhaps your brother may be dead?" To the Dutchman, then William said, "I thought about it. I did. Either way, I need to know." Wanting desperately to change the subject, William's head lolled. "You smoke this stuff all the time?" "I smoke only the best," the Dutchman replied. Sheepishly, William asked, "Can I have another hit?" The BMW looked like a scene out of Cheech and Chong. As they progressed down the road, William's high leveled out. Everything became clear, like a new door had opened to free his mind. What's hashish made from anyway? "I suppose you could say it is the honey from the cannabis plant." "It comes from grass, then?" "What have you thought?" "I thought it was pot laced with something, I guess." "You guess?" The old Don crossed his eyes. You must know, William. Not guessing, okay? William wasn't sure what to make of the Dutchman's statement. There seemed to be agitation in his voice. No, my friend. Soon you will know much about the business. Rule number 1, hashish comes from the cannabis, and it is considered a soft drug in Holland. A soft drug? Yes, because it is less harmful than cocaine and heroin, among other drugs. Our government finds very little harmful about the use of cannabis. I wish they thought that way in America, William shot back. Back home, you go to jail if you have anything over an ounce. This is not much weed, eh? For how long time have you go to jail for this? I guess it depends, says William. I'm not sure, but I do know a few guys who went to jail for a couple years, and they only were dealing in a few pounds. Yes, it is unproductive, these laws you have. Yeah, people back home are always like, shit, I'd love to go to Amsterdam. I had this friend who went there, and they had the wildest time. My friend, you need to understand that you're not here for fun. This is serious business.